Hello, welcome to the Lately in JavaScript podcast. This is episode 56. I'm Manuel Lemos, and as always, I have here with me Arturs Sosins from the warm or cold Latvia.
It's warm. It's more warmer now.
It's not -10, right?
No, at least not in the house.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I have no idea. Over here, it's cold, but cold in Brazil, it's more or less like a joke. Anyway, we are here to talk about JavaScript, and let's move on with the first topic, a new API that I just noticed that is being announced. Let me share the screen here. This API is about MIDI. MIDI is a specification for communicating with musical instruments. Arturs, yeah, I think you have been onto music or something. What can you tell us about this? Is this something interesting?
Yeah, well, as MIDI.org says itself, that Web MIDI API is the most significant advancement of MIDI since MIDI itself. So basically, from the blog, that new Chrome version now provides an access. Let me maybe also try to share the screen, and I don't know if I could show my information. Okay, so now a new version Chrome also provides an access to that you can request easily like this, navigate, request MIDI access, and well, I have not tried it, but it seems that it would be possible to create MIDI keyboard inside HTML, inside JavaScript, without using anything additionally. It would either connect to some internal MIDI instrument or maybe even external if it can get it. I don't know. I have not seen the specification of this API, but my first idea is implementing MIDI keyboard. But probably now many will play MIDI music when you visit their website or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I don't know. Probably you are able to compose music using some standard samples, or maybe not standard samples, or whatever.
No, those should be digitally, MIDI is digitally generated sound.
Yeah, maybe you can program music dynamically using JavaScript. So this web API is supposed for something that you can communicate from the browser with some instrument, or maybe some emulation of a instrument.
Imagine the music changes based on the speed you scroll the website, like a Doppler effect.
Oh, I see. So, well, let's wait and see. This is very new. It was sort of announced last month, so let's wait and see, because there is already an API for audio, but it's basically to define audio samples, not exactly communicate with instruments or compose music. Well, I don't know. Let's wait and see where this goes. So moving on with the next topic, now we're going to talk about something called JSON API, which is a specification for building APIs in JSON. From what I could gather, this would be a way for you to tell how you want your data returned from APIs. I'm not sure. Arthur, what did you get from this?
Yeah, it seems to be something like that. That basically, well, no, not what data, but basically, it's a specification that APIs could follow and implement answering to this request of the specification that would indicate which field they want to have returned, which subfields, how sorted they want it, and stuff like that. I don't know if many implement it or not, but this seems to be like a way to tell REST API that responds with JSON that you should require, or it should return some fields, or should exclude some fields and stuff like that. So in order to minimize the data that you want to transfer and display through AJAX request, or anyway you would request it. So if
so this would be useful for what? For people implementing APIs, people calling APIs?
Both. Well, it's probably useful for bandwidth and speed, but both parts should be implementing it. The server should implement the responding to requests, and the requester should implement the specification to form the request specifically. So,
right. If the server doesn't implement it, the client cannot benefit from anything. Yeah, well, it seems useful, but it's still not very clear if this is just to how you want to return data or take parameters. It's not very clear.
Yeah, I think the next article shows a great example of URL of how you can request something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I see.
So there you provide which fields to include, and like include for people on the first name and last name, and sort everything by date, and probably to specify some different filters that you could filter the information, all in a sense that you request only information you need in the format you need, so to minimize the job you have to do to process the information and minimize the data you have to send. I think that would be the basic guideline for this API specification.
So basically, if there is some libraries or some support on the server side to benefit from this specification, it would be interesting because people can follow this specification that is being standardized, and they can expect the data the way they need it. So it is interesting.
Let's see if it sticks and if many will use it or not.
Yeah, if it takes adoption. I've seen some APIs, and I think maybe LinkedIn or something that you can, for instance, follow this more or less this convention of specifying I want these fields and fields separated by a comma, and they return those fields.
Sounds something like that, exactly.
That's probably a way to standardize on that. So the next topic that I wanted to comment about is about an approach to create style sheets either dynamically or programmatically, because we have standards like SAS, well, not standards, we have approaches like SAS and LAS that you can use a sort of template syntax, but this JavaScript to Object to CSS compiler is basically to create style sheet definitions. You pass it. Yes. This is for the browser, or?
I think it could be run in the browser. I didn't see any limitations.
Yeah, because the output is this. So you can play with code samples live. Where is the live? Oh, I see. If I change here, I did not realize this is a text input. This is interesting. It can be useful as an alternative to SAS OS. Because SAS OS, they can be implemented on the server side. And
this way,
well,
for example, the same Twitter Bootstrap has many predefined constants to use, and you could use them in the website and then download the sheets that you need and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get the point. And they even have like some weird values here.
Yeah, so they would not clash or something like that.
Oh, but then you need to have somehow to get these names to use them where they would be needed, right?
Yes. So that's the process of first you generate CSS and then you use it.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. Let's see. Well, it seems to be new. I have not seen anything like this before. Let's see if some people will start adopting it and it becomes useful to other people. Now we are going to talk about another topic which is related with WebAssembly. WebAssembly is a sort of an attempt to define more efficient JavaScript. We had already ASM.js, which is basically a restricted JavaScript form that would result in faster JavaScript being run. And it has been used by many projects, those that convert C++ into...
Yeah, like EcmaScript.
Yeah.
Your favorite?
Yes, it has been a while since we didn't talk about them because every project was based on that. And now the idea is to go further and actually define a real assembly language, I think, defining binary, right?
Yeah. So it would be like binary syntax.
Yeah.
And probably it would be like coding in assembler.
Yeah, probably there will be compilers. And, well, this is not... They played some tricks here with the CSS and things disappeared. Well, anyway, there is an effort to create a specification, a community group to design what will be the WebAssembly.
So they basically only just started doing this and there is nothing yet to show, to try. It's just an idea and people are working on it.
Yeah. Well, it's the next step to make the web faster, except that it won't be based on text. It will be based on binary assembly, I think. Okay, let's see how this goes. This just the first mentions of this topic.
So next, instead of classes submitting the JS classes, people will be submitting binaries.
Binaries, right, or not. Let's see. So next topic, it's kind of more a curiosity, is a short code snippet that will please those jQuery fans that don't want or for some reason can't use jQuery. It's called Bling. It's a code snippet that will implement the dollar sign like you have in jQuery, but without jQuery.
Yeah, basically the snippet you see is the implementation of this library, just a couple of lines.
Yeah.
But it provides a great deal of functionality. The most common functionality that we use, the selectors, the on, the for each, stuff like that.
Yeah, because nowadays we have DOM function calls that can provide a a lot of the functionality that was implemented in jQuery because it was not standardized in past browser versions, but many years after that, people are moving on onto this.
Yeah, that's the main point. Probably it won't work in older versions, but it should support the modern ones.
It won't support i6.
Of course not. Nobody does.
Yeah.
Even jQuery don't do it anymore, I think.
Yeah. It's not just the dollar, it's also the on function. Just to register event listeners. It does not, it no longer uses that syntax that we used to make it work in IE, right?
Yeah, like two different ways to add in an event. So yeah, basically it assumes that you're using latest version browsers.
Right. Even IE is no longer called IE, it's called Edge. So things are changing. I hope it's for good. Okay. Now, moving on to the next topic, we are going to talk about coding styles and rules. Let me share the screen here. Okay. So here we have this JSCS, which is basically a library to implement rules. You can adopt rules that are common to certain libraries. I think I'm not sure if this is what this means. You use JSCS, but you can customize the rules if you, for instance, you don't like certain rules, you can customize them.
Yeah, so but there are mostly not like JS hint or JS Wint where there are rules to try to allow you make less errors in the code. Yeah, but it's more about like coding practices. Like when if you click the rules, there will be the list of different rules like require space after keywords or will require space after object keys and stuff like that. So
yeah,
the style of the code.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is that you can customize the rules because sometimes you don't like certain rules. For instance, if you have tabs or spaces, if there is a rule that says, oh no, you should use 4 spaces. But if you use tabs or something else, being able to override that rule and get to the point of things that really should be worth noticing, it is great because you stop avoiding. Every time I go in JSLint, I usually do that by pasting code in the site. I have to tick those options that I want to use. Actually, in the latest versions of JSLint, I think, they used to have options that you could put on in your comments, and they would preset those options. But for some reason, it is no longer there. Let me. JSLint, here it is. Okay, if I use tab spaces.
Do you want to share a screen?
I'm not sharing screen.
No.
Why not? I have no clue. Okay, you have spaces. You have tabs. I can't use tabs here.
Yeah, it's hard to use them in the browser.
Okay. Okay, there are no functions, but if I use How do I put a tab here?
/t maybe, I don't know.
No. I mean in the editor as white space. Let
Copy.
Yeah, I think I have to do that. I have to copy from some other program. And where is it? Okay. Well.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't like blah.
But also use spaces, not tabs.
Okay, so I used to put here to take the messy.
Yep.
Okay. Just to say, okay, I have no warnings, but in the past, I think there was a way to show the option, so they don't have to click the messy spaces, not tabs. Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, but okay. And well, the idea, anyway, this is just to use JSLint, but we are talking about the JSCS. The idea would be to develop a tool that would look at your code and find things that break the rules. But here, the idea would be to have some exceptions, so you could alter your rules and the base of your rules, and it will work with the way you style your code. But well, I think JSLint had that, but I think they took it away. They are probably to try to be more drastic and not tolerate, for instance, different types of white space. Use space, not tabs. So they decided that now you need to use spaces. What if I use different? Var at column 0. Yeah, I cannot use spaces. I cannot. If I use. Okay. Yeah. Now it wants me to use column 0. Okay. Anyway, it's just interesting. I want to mention that. So now we are going to move on to another topic. Let me share the screen here again. And this is about NPM 3 that was released 14 days ago, it says. NPM, as you may know, it's it's a node package manager. So you can install packages from repositories, npm.js or maybe some other. And this is version 3. Well, I really don't know. I've been using NPM for whatever needs to be installed with NPM, but I really don't know what is the importance of this new major release. Arturs, have you been following this? Or anything you can?
Yeah, well, that's only a beta, so it's not a production ready. Something might change, but there are a couple of interesting features there. There are breaking changes for the ones who develop plugins, but for NPM, but probably won't relate to many of you. But what are the cool features there is that, for example, it would like if you have installed dependency and this dependency is missing some other dependencies, npm install would reinstall them and would try to fix many things if the package is broken, because for now you just need to delete them and install again. And the interesting thing that it would try to install all dependencies in the maximal upper folder in your node modules. So if two different dependencies have same sub-dependencies, they would not be like a copy of these dependencies in each folder separately and taking twice as much space, but rather a dependency in upper folder and both would be reusing them. Of course, I don't know how they would deal with different versions, but that's just the stuff they promised that it will work. And it will have a little better UI, like a progress bar of installation, and would install lots of packages like simultaneously rather than one by one. So it should also be faster in that case. I know that's basically all there is.
Yeah, well, personally, I don't know. Maybe the thing, something that I heard is that in previous versions you will not be able to install nested dependencies, right?
Yeah, no, it was possible. I think there was cases of circular dependencies that would not work, but probably it's a rare case. Usually, well, at least as I install it from package JSON, not like installing specific, it usually installed all nested dependencies too. Only, as I said, in this case, it would try to install them so they would be shared between multiple dependencies.
Well, anyway, I think it was worth mentioning because this is a major release. For those that use this a lot, probably notice some differences. I've been using npm where packages need to be installed with npm, like Cordova or PhoneGap or whatever. But after that, sometimes you just you no longer use npm, you use Bower or some other library to install.
For browser dependencies, yes.
Browser dependencies, and so it no longer applies. As long as you can install Bower, it's all right. You use npm to install Bower, and then
that sounds like you use Internet Explorer to install Chrome or something like that.
It's exactly that's a good analogy. Anyway, okay, maybe there are more things to mention. This is just a pre-release. You call it beta. Not sure if beta is the word, but okay, it's written. It's beta software, yeah, so it's a pre-release. You can call it beta. And okay, let's move on. The next topic is about just to mention that last month it was the 16th anniversary of PHP classes site. As you may know, PHP classes is the basis of JS classes. And just to mention, coincidentally, it was also the month of PHP made completed 20 years, but that's another topic. We talked about it in the PHP podcast. So if you want to know about it, just go and listen to that. Related to that, I just mentioned something that is still missing in PHP that is somewhat related with JavaScript, which is the fact that currently most JavaScript implementations are based on EcmaScript 5. But in EcmaScript 6, there is the await keyword that allows you to develop a code that will run asynchronously. You don't have to deal anymore with the callback hell. And as we mentioned before, Node.js, or I think it was IO.js, that is starting to implement EcmaScript 6 features. So I'm not sure if the await keyword is already available there, but if it is available, it will be interesting. And I think that will make Node.js in general more interesting as it is today, because dealing with the callback hell is a hell. A hell that is a hell. And
For
basically,
lack of a better analogy.
Yes, exactly. And this is just to mention, this was mentioned in this article because PHP does not yet have the await keyword on the main implementation of the language. But there is the hack language that is implemented by Facebook that already has something like that. So it's possible that PHP will play a bit of catch up on that. Anyway, the reason I mention here is that since there is sort of a competition, but what development environment will prevail in the future for web development? We know that JavaScript is making progress a lot. For instance, for mobile development, hybrid applications are mostly based in JavaScript. Some are emulate the web environment, like Cordova from Gap, and so others just the JavaScript part with CSS, but without HTML, like native script, as we mentioned also before. So it will be interesting to see how the future will evolve. Anyway, I also mentioned this article because there are some developments that took place in PHP classes also affect the JS classes side, namely the package recommendation system that also exists, but unfortunately in JS classes side is not so popular. It hasn't been used much, but there are some package recommendations there, and the Innovation Award Championship of the Nations introduced last year has been motivating a lot more developers to send their packages. Not many, but more. And last year, France as a country has won. And we didn't even comment much about it, but unfortunately, because the winner of the Innovation Award for some reason disappeared. I don't know. I hope nothing bad happened to him, but since he stopped replying, I don't know. He didn't even mention much about that. Anyway, the Innovation Award is also in the JS classes side, and one recent feature implemented there is that if somebody submits a request and then somebody wants to provide a solution that is not yet approved, now there is a way to submit that package that may be in a queue, and when the package is approved, it will be automatically listed as recommendation by the author that submitted it. So it is interesting. There are some developers that do not apply to the JS classes side, but the feature pans will be implemented. They will affect both sides. Basically, a better search system that will be more flexible and do not have so much limitations as the current one, and also have provide better ranking of the results. And also in the future, it is planned to have package recommendations appear in the search results. And the PHP classes site completed 16 years. The JS classes site will complete 5 years in August. It's a long time. Unfortunately, it has not grown as much, but it's okay. It has been useful to many people, and I hope it continues to be even more useful. Well, Well, those were lots of books and lots of articles, but we finally reaching one of the last sections on which we comment about the Innovation Award. Let's start with the Innovation Award of JS classes. Like we start with the nominees of April. They were voted in May and June. The results come out. We have in April like 7 nominees, many packages, at least for the average of the JS classes site, which is great, but will give us a lot more work to comment about them. Let me share here just to give you an idea. Okay, here they are. Okay, so of these 7, which ones would you like to comment, Arturs?
Share the screen and probably need to zoom in also, right? Much better. Yeah. So first one I wanted to comment is an interesting package by Andreas Toth, which is called WDE, web-based editor for several programming languages. I was actually looking for something that I could write code online in, and it seems to be using some existing tool and extending it and implementing different features, and even some testing using PHP integrations. I wanted to try to see a demo, but it seems their demo account was changed and I can't log in. It also says wrong name or password, but still wanted to mention it. And Andres got 1 year server license IP for his package. The second one I wanted to mention is Gianluca Zanferrari with package JavaScript HTML table Excel export. So what it does, it does an interesting thing that it takes a current HTML table in the HTML code and formats it in a way that it could be exported and used in Excel. And in case of Internet Explorer, it also uses ActiveX control to even launch the Excel program. So if you want to allow users to edit HTML tables in Excel, that's the way to go.
Yeah, that's actually, if you are not in Internet Explorer, it still will open a file and make it open Excel if you are on Windows or whatever is compliant in your platform.
And the last one I wanted to mention is Jackson Knowlton from United States, and he developed JS Sortable Table. And well, I think it's actually one of the rare developers who actually put a demo on it. Well, as you see, it's a simple sortable table that could be applied to any table in your HTML and provide a sorting function. I think that's basically it. Oh yeah, and he got one downloadable ebook of choice by O'Reilly for this package.
Okay, on my behalf, I also like to talk about a few packages. Let me share the screen here. Okay. Well, the first package I wanted to comment is one that is interesting, and fortunately, I also have a demo, which basically is an analog clock. Well, the demo was supposed to appear here, but it doesn't. Maybe the author removed it, but well, anyway, let's see if I can open the screen. Oh, it opens, but not when?
Not in iframe?
In iframe. Well, anyway, as you may be able to see here, it's an analog clock. It just uses some CSS tricks to rotate the pointers. and it gives a nice effect. Okay, the next package that I want to comment, it's GPS to country. And this is very interesting because usually, oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that the previous package was published by Suresh Kumar from India. And the next package that I want to mention, as I mentioned, is GPS to country. It allows to determine the country at a given longitude and latitude. So you take the latitude and longitude, and this package by Dusan Boschik is able to determine if that coordinate is inside a given country. And this all is done without querying remote web services. So it contains information about the boundaries of each country, and then it tells if a given coordinate is inside that country or not. So it is a great package. Well, the next package that I want to comment is the dots and blocks game implemented in JavaScript, which is interesting. We don't have demos, but I have a screenshot here.
So two players is playing on the same screen, not like online.
Yeah. So this is interesting because I didn't know about this game, but it is always interesting the way that some people implement these games in JavaScript. In this case, as I mentioned, is for two individual players to play against each other. And finally, the last package that I want to mention is an array generator by Stefan Chapman. And this is to initialize arrays with special sequences, special values, ranges, and ranges of numbers, ranges of letters. And this is very convenient because sometimes you have the need to pre-populate arrays in a certain manner. And if you have a solution that addresses those cases, it is always useful. And this package was already mentioned by Stefan Chapman from Australia. Now let's take a look at the Innovation Award rankings so far for 2015. So far, Anders Toth is leading individually with 4 packages and 15 points, followed by Suresh Kumar with 3 packages and 10 points. Then Gianluca Zanferai with 1 package and 7 points. Then also with 7 points, Dusan Boschik with and then there are several other authors with just 1 package but less points: Jackson Alton, Danish Sati, and Mustafa Abed El Hamid, Diego LaMonica, Stefan Chapman, and Arturs Sosins. Well, by country, the things are still more or less tied to who is leading, because unfortunately JS Classes does not have many authors submitting packages, so many of them are just represent their country all by themselves. So in first place there is Hungary with 4 packages and 15 points, then India with 3 packages and 10 points, Serbia with 2 packages and 7 points, Netherlands with 1 package and 7 points, and then United States with 2 packages and 7. I think United States is probably the only country that has more than 1 participant in this ranking. Then there is Italy, 1 package and 4 points, Australia 1 package and 4 points, Egypt also 1 package and 4 points, Pakistan also 1 package and 4 points, and Indonesia 1 package and 3 points. We have had lots of contributions of JS classes have been raising a lot this year. So we hope this competition becomes interesting. So with this, we practically ended this podcast. I would like to thank you, Arturs, for coming once more. And next month, we have more interesting JavaScript topics to talk about. On my behalf, that is all for now. Bye.
Bye.